And it's really fascinating. I've taken a lot of other agency law enforcement officers, highway patrol officers, sheriff deputies, on ride-alongs with wardens to see what we actually do. Like the other cops, it blows them away. It's like, are you going to call backup? I go, there's like 10 guys, and you're like, your backup's an hour away.
Yeah.
And they've all got like 2 guns on them and a knife. It's like, nah, I'm just going to go check them. I mean, you have to do the best you can to read people. I mean, you almost become a psychologist to make sure that you go home at night every night.
Welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast, presented to you by Sac Life TV.
Hi, this is Topo Padilla, and I want to thank my family at Greg Padilla Bail Bonds for sponsoring the Powerhouse Podcast. We are always involved in the community, so if you ever find yourself in need of calling a bail bonds, you can call us at 446-BOND or find us at PadillaBailBonds.com. Sac Life TV and the Powerhouse Podcast want to thank Mosley Collins for his unwavering support of our podcast that keeps people informed. If you ever need legal help, call Mosley Collins Law at 444-4444. That's all fours for legal help. Hello, I'm Topo Padilla, your host of the Powerhouse Podcast. Today we have a guest here who's somebody I've known through his work and what he's done professionally, but we grew up in the same neighborhoods, went to competing high schools. He went to Del Campo, I went to El Camino. But Jerry Karnow is a retired wildlife officer who served in that capacity for more than 30 years for the Department of Fish and Wildlife. He's received numerous awards, Officer of the Year, presented to him by Governor Schwarzenegger. Was inducted to the San Francisco Chronicles California Outdoor Hall of Fame. That's for his skills in outdoor activities and wildlife detection skills. And past president of the legislative liaison for the California Fish and Wardens Association. And you'll understand the importance of that as we go through this interview. Jerry retired, and for the past few years, he's been teaching others how to hunt and how to fish through his guiding service. He's a keynote speaker for many, many organizations throughout California and afar, and does a great job. I have him here today. We're going to talk about what they do as wildlife officers and the fact that they're here to protect, our wildlife, and that includes the fish and everything we have in our outdoors, but have great respect for hunters, people like me who enjoy our hunting and outdoors. So, Jerry, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Topo. Good to see you again.
Yeah. So wildlife officers, game wardens, they used to be called, and they changed that name. Wildlife officer. Tell the people what you do and did out there at your job.
So we're one of the state agencies that patrol the whole state of California and had jurisdiction 200 miles off in the ocean as we regulate the commercial fishing industry. But we're the same guy that checks your fishing license, checks your hunting license. But our investigations and our patrol work goes even deeper than that. We patrol just about every nook and cranny of the state. Jurisdiction on private property where people are engaged in hunting or fishing, and then also all of our public lands. And California is the third largest state in the nation, and the most amount of people in the state too. But we patrol from Los Angeles to the most remote parts of Modoc County.
Alturas,
Susanville. Yeah.
Well, I want to say this about you and knowing you as a friend and your colleagues. You have a dangerous job out there. Most of the people you were contacting are armed for good reasons. They're out hunting, they're out fishing, they're carrying a sidearm for, something that may go afoul. You had a dangerous job. How many game wardens were there in California? Were there in California?
So it's kind of hovers around.
Officers, sorry.
Well, so like boots on the ground. So officers, it kind of varied based on vacancies and California's budget. Unfortunately, if there's a budget deficit, sometimes those positions don't get filled. When somebody retires, then we have a police academy for new wardens. But it hovers around anywhere from 200 to 300 officers, boots on the ground. And then there's about another 150 that are supervisors from lieutenant, captain, and chief. So for 40 million people in the state of California, it's a lot of territory to cover. And unfortunately, I mean, the interesting, there's a lot of fun facts I'm going to have for you
Yeah.
in this
That's why
interview.
we're here, buddy.
Is that California actually has the fewest number of wardens per capita of the population of all the states in United States and the provinces in Canada. So that's a true statement, unfortunately. But still, wardens, wildlife officers, do a really good job of working with the community to have so many eyes and ears to do a lot of, to see what's going on out there. I mean, that was probably one of the most community-oriented law enforcement professions there is as a game warden. Because I would, wherever I worked in the state, and there was many different places I did patrol and different duty stations that I worked out of, that I would make a point of just driving around in my marked patrol vehicle and meet everybody that was out there, from small landowners to big landowners to all the different agencies, all the sheriff's departments, the local police departments, the highway patrol, which patrols the whole state like we did, and made a point of explaining to them who I was and what my role is in their community. And a lot of interaction with so many different, just the public and also other agencies. I was able to use maybe kind of like a team of people to basically achieve our goals of protecting fish and wildlife in California. Very, very dangerous job. I mean, we were issued 4 firearms. So basically an AR-10 platform, 308 rifle, because there's times when we had to use a larger bullet if we had to kill a bear or a mountain lion. Also pretty good firepower if, we don't have any backup. We're in the middle of nowhere. So there's that. A high capacity magazine shotgun, and then 2 Glock handguns. One was a high capacity, and another one was we call the baby Glock. It was like our undercover gun. But they issued 4 guns, which is kind of telling that, what are these for?
Wow.
The interesting thing is there's so many people that don't believe that wildlife officers are actually law enforcement. Oh. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. So California game wardens were the first uniform law enforcement agency in the United States, in California, which 1871 was the first 2 game warden commissioners out of San Francisco to protect the salmon and the duck population and basically in the Bay Area. And then they just kind of grew from there. But there's a lot of history with what wildlife officers do now. They used to be fish and game. Now they're wildlife officers, Department of Fish and Wildlife. And we get ourselves into a lot of situations to where there is no backup for a couple hours. So we just had to rely on ourselves, our equipment. A lot of that was with the firearms, but and all the other tools that we had in to our disposal, from pepper spray to side handle baton, or the asp is another tool with extensive training, and we just got it done. I mean, we protect a lot of wildlife in California.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that I firmly believe in and always have believed in. There's no way that you and a CHP officer should have different pay. You guys are both out there doing the same job, patrolling these streets, having contact with people who may not want to have contact with law enforcement. And I personally, this is just me, believe you guys should be on the same pay scale as them. And I have a lot of friends that are CHP. Believe me, what you guys do, walking up to vehicles again and having contact with some people who, most of them are going to be great. They're, hey, yeah, I messed up, ran a red light, or hey, here's my fishing license. But I don't know where you want to go with that, my friend, but I know what you did, and I know a lot of game wardens, what you guys did. You had a dangerous job.
Yeah, and when I was the legislative liaison and president of the Warden Association, I spent about 10 years of my life on patrol and then on some release time. I didn't get paid extra to do this, but actually to advocate for game wardens and for wildlife in the state capitol. So I did spend some time explaining exactly what we did, and we got significant traction on that. And one of the things was the comparison with California Highway Patrol and then also Fish and Game Wardens. And the pay discrepancy was pretty significant. We were able to bridge that gap a little bit, but it took a lot of work. Agencies like Highway Patrol, they've got, I think, 8,000 officers, I think, statewide. So they actually have lobbyists that are in the Capitol, several days a week. We never even had a lobbyist. It was just the Warden Association. It was me for 10 years and a couple other officers that would go in the Capitol and actually just tell our story. And we did get some progress on that. And we worked with, communicated with Highway Patrol and the Highway Patrols Association and the Correctional Officers Association, different other law enforcement associations, the Sheriff's Association, and very helpful. We got letters from them to help us, that those officers knew that we were backup for them. I mean, I can't, so many times that I've backed up a CHP officer or a sheriff deputy, and they've backed me up as well. I mean, they knew I was the only guy out there. But a lot of times because a lot of my patrols, I would leave my house at 10 o'clock at night and get home at 6 in the morning. And I hunted, people doing things they're not supposed to do with guns. And a lot of times there would be a CHP officer pulled over at 3 in the morning. I would pull over traffic violation or whatever they were involved in, and I would always back them up. Same with the Sheriff's Department. And I would monitor all the radio stations, and if there was something occurring that I could help them with, I would respond to it.
So a lot of people didn't know this. I found out this early on about a search warrant. If somebody has a hunting license, they're out actively fishing or hunting, they're fair game for you to search their car, their game box, whatever it is.
In the field, or in vehicles, when somebody's out engaging in hunting or fishing, and you're able to articulate that, it's less than probable cause. It's enough that if you see a fishing rod and they're along the stream bank fishing, we have the authority under the Fish and Game Code. This is state law that allows us to, and most times we ask permission and they would show us, but I'm going to go through your backpack, your cooler, anything that can potentially conceal something, whether it's a dead fish or a dead, a bear paw, a bear gallbladder. And the reason for those laws, and there's a lot of case law to support that, to make sure that the wildlife officers have the ability to protect our wildlife, is that wildlife, which has no voice, they're victims, but they can't call anybody. The evidence, it's the animal, let's say that, a fish or an animal is perishable. So you've got to have that ability to be able to inspect that, or the evidence is going to be gone. So there's a lot of case law that covers the ability to inspect people's, their boats, their fish businesses. We regulate the commercial fishing industry and the fish businesses. So, we'd go into businesses that sell fish in San Francisco, and we have the authority to do those inspections on their records, their books, and the fish without a warrant. When it comes to obviously going into a house, even on a hardcore poacher, and we've already seized evidence in the field, firearms and game, but we have information and probable cause to go further and get a search warrant, then we have to write a search warrant,
Right.
Go before the judge and go through that whole process. And then hopefully when we serve the search warrant, the evidence we find in the house corroborates our probable cause, and we make a bigger case. But the bottom line on that is we caught a bigger fish. We caught a bigger bad guy, and we protected a lot more wildlife.
Yeah. And one of the things, the rap that you got, and when I was growing up, we'd go out to go duck hunting or something like that. And you always feel if you're hunting and doing the right thing, but you would see a game warden, you go like that. But if you're doing the right thing, it's all good. Most of you are outdoorsmen and hunters, right? You know us.
Right.
You knew what we were doing. You also knew where they held the extra shells when they went out to the
It's kind of the same feeling. Like still to this day, you're driving down the highway, driving the speed limit, and the CHP officer comes up and is driving behind you, right?
Yeah.
It's like the same kind of thing.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Well, I know one thing about you. I just talked to a gentleman the other day. We were at an event, my daughter's wedding, and he told me where he lived. And I asked him if he knew you, and he said, he did. And he was always so good to our community. You patrolled that Nevada County, El Dorado, in that area. Most of your patrol was here in this region of Northern California.
Most of it, yeah. I did start when our police academy, which is a really long one. I think it's one of the longest in the state. So we go through all the same same training that any other law enforcement would go through in a police academy. And then in addition to that, the wildlife crime, which is there's a lot of constitutional issues because of going on private land, especially on duck clubs, without a warrant. We have the authority to do that. A lot of extra training we had to go through. And then wildlife ID, fish ID, because a lot of the wildlife, they have specific bag limits that you can take and size limits. So we had to learn all that stuff. Although, I had a background of hunting and fishing, so a lot of that was second nature to me. But our police academy is super long. When I got out of that, I went to Long Beach. So we had no idea where we were going to go, but I had to be able to accept where they're going to tell me where I'm going to patrol in California. So I ended up working 3 years on a patrol vessel out of Long Beach. So I patrolled from the Mexican border, all of the southern Channel Islands, Catalina Island, San Clemente, Santa Barbara Island. That was my beat for 3 years on a 45-foot patrol vessel. We actually had a mooring right off the casino in Avalon. Made amazing. I mean, I could write a book just on the cases we made in 3 years. The time I was on the boat, boarding celebrities' vessels and checking their licenses, and lobster out of season, and people spearing lobster, which is illegal, and black market trade in abalone. And I mean, there's so many things that go on. And then the illegal commercial fishing also. We had to actually. The boats would leave San Pedro, and then they would purposely go blacked out all the way from San Pedro to Catalina Island. And there's sections around the island where you're prohibited from commercial fishing. Well, they would total blacked out, and they would wrap sardine in a closed zone, and it's tens of thousands of dollars of product that they're getting, and then bring it back to LA. Wow. And so, I mean, we probably only caught a fraction of people that did that. But we did catch them, and the amount of activity in the ocean is phenomenal. But I spent 3 years doing that. Then I spent 5 years in San Bernardino, Riverside County, and patrolled from the Arizona border to Imperial County and Joshua Tree National Monument, Anza Borrego State Park. Completely different than the ocean.
Yeah,
had a great time. Made a lot of night illegal poaching cases. People spotlighting, they shine a light. Yeah. In areas where there's deer, and then they shoot it from their vehicle. I made a lot of those cases, and that's why I would, especially when it was 105 degrees during the day. Sometimes I would leave at dark, and then I'd come home at 6 a.m. loaded with a whole bunch of guns I just seized. Crazy stuff out in the desert.
Part of what we're doing here today is to talk about what you guys did, but to educate people. Because I really want to truly educate people. Not everybody knows the law. In fact, in California, our penal code books are that thick. There's 2 of them now because we just go down and make things illegaler and illegaler at the Capitol. Right. But a lot of people don't understand and know at night, if you have a gun in your car, about making a U-turn in the middle of a road.
Unfortunately, the state doesn't print the regulations for people that are out hunting and fishing anymore. I mean, you can get online, but it was nice when they had that hard copy.
Yes.
And it was good for us too, because we could, pass it out to them. Or if we made a case and they have that on their dash, well, they kind of know what the law is, right? So it helped with our
ignorance of the law
cases.
is not a defense.
But the elements of illegal spotlighting is to shine a light in an area where there may be game with the method to take that game, whether it's bow and arrow or rifle, shotgun, etc. Well, there's a part of that elements of that section. If you sweep your headlights of a vehicle and it's not consistent with normal driving, and you've watched obviously make a decent game, that actually could be using that light illegally to look for wildlife. That's what you're referring to.
You're not going to go nail a guy for making a 3-point turn. Let's
if you've been looking for a place to camp and stuff. Yes. But if you're like, this guy's been doing it for the last hour. Now he's shining on a deer, and then they shoot.
Yeah,
that's where we have our decoys. We put our decoys out, and those are the robo deer, which is phenomenal.
Tell people about it, because I'm going to tell you. One time we were up hunting up at our ranch in Siskiyou County, and we were driving along, and there's 2 cars pulled over, and we're like, what in the world are these guys doing? And man, they're firing from the road, wah, 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 wah. And their scopes were off or something, because we were watching like, what in the hell were they doing? They're shooting at that deer that is 150 yards away. This thing ain't dying, right? It ain't dropping, ain't nothing.
Yeah.
We're like, huh? Finally, man, somebody got on binoculars. That's a decoy. Let's get the hell out of here, right? Because
Right.
fishing games around here nowhere. We found out later on it wasn't. One of the local guys, he put that thing up there every year, and he got a kick out of watching people like idiots.
Just to mess with people.
Just to
yeah.
mess with
Yeah.
people. So
Well, it was a great tool. A lot of people would claim that it is entrapment. It's not. It's just
yes.
providing opportunity for people that are already predisposed to break the law. But it was a great tool to stop people from shooting from the road, poaching on certain people's private property. And we caught a lot of convicted felons that shot. I mean, and we got them on video shooting a fake deer, and we make the law enforcement stop, and lo and behold, they're on probation or on parole from prison. Makes them a felon. Now you got a felon possessing a firearm. Took a lot of firearms from people that shouldn't have firearms. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
Probably Fish and Game seizes more firearms than probably most agencies hands down. But on the other side of the coin, the interesting thing is, like you pointed out earlier, that most people don't. They're not violating the law. They're out there in enjoying what's lawful throughout the United States. What they've got, and it's not easy to go shoot a deer. I mean, it might go 10 years before you legally fill your tag, but you got to take a hunter safety course. You have to buy the license every year. You have to have the tags. It has to be in season. You have to have the right rifle. You have to have the right ammunition. There's a whole host of regulations you have to abide by before you pull the trigger. I mean, 95% of the people they abide by the law. We're looking for that 5%, and I don't know what the number is, but I'm just kind of making that up. But the bottom line is, most of the people that we contact are positive law enforcement contacts. And it's really fascinating. I've taken a lot of other agency law enforcement officers, highway patrol officers, sheriff deputies, people in the Capitol, on ride-alongs with wardens to see what we actually do. Like the other cops, it blows them away. It's like, are you going to call backup? I go, there's like 10 guys, and you're like, your backup's an hour away.
Yeah.
And they've all got like 2 guns on them and a knife. It's like, nah, I'm just going to go check them. Yeah. I mean, it blows them away. And you have to be nice but firm. You really have to take charge. Hey, I'm here, and hey, I need you to not, touch the firearm. And you have to do the best you can to read people. I mean, you almost become a psychologist to be able to make sure that you go home at night every night. I mean, every law enforcement officer is going to tell you that. Fascinating job. Yeah. I encourage everybody to look into it.
To look at it. Well, catching people red-handed, and I know you did a lot of that. I love venison. I love elk meat. I love a lot of things in our outdoors. But to go out and hang in your house a deer that you poached off of somebody's front yard, or you go to my house and look at all the animals that I have hanging on my wall. I have a story about each one of them. A couple of them aren't even mine. They're my best friend Mike Glazier's elk there, but he shot it by our ranch. And there's just such a great story about this. But those people who go do that, I got that one. Oh, how'd you get it? Those stories.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't understand that because I've been an avid hunter myself, same kind of situation. And there's people that, they'll shoot them on somebody's front lawn. To me, there's no sense of true satisfaction or being part of the community of wildlife. I mean, I like to go somewhere where you're away from people and you're enjoying wildlife, and you're not looking over your shoulder. You can just chill and be part of the environment. And if you harvest something, you do. If you don't, that's okay too.
So let's get into and talk about, it's going to be one of the coolest subjects, is the show that you all did and you were a big part of, and that was Wild Justice. It was a TV show that aired for many years and showed what you guys as game wardens did. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that came about because of my political action with the Warden Association to highlight what wardens do in the field. And so we got the attention of a lot of media. And then some of the media had connections to some of the reality show folks, original productions who produced Deadliest Catch and Ice Road Truckers. They sent interns to go on ride-alongs with us, and they said, hey, we think we can make a show out of this. And they budgeted for 4 episodes. And then after they had gone on patrol and got into some really crazy stuff with our wardens, they budgeted for 11 shows. And then they ended up doing three years, I think 3 1 hour or 3 seasons, 33 1-hour episodes. But the thing was, it was one of the best pieces of lobby work we could ever do because we were lobbying into people's living rooms. So it was kind of a successful thing. We just kind of fell into that. But I had to actually go down to Hollywood and communicate with those folks. I had to work with the governor's office and the director and the chief and the attorneys to make sure that we could actually pull this off. And we actually did. And it was received very well. They still show reruns. And it's a great way for people to go on a ride along with wardens. You can actually go on any search engine and just type in National Geographic or Nat Geo Wild Justice, and you can see a bunch of the episodes. I'm in several of them, of course, right?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, and I still have friendships with a lot of the field producers and the cameramen, and they've given us a platform, which is great.
It was a great show. Again, some people were worried about it casting a bad light on hunters, but no, you didn't. You found bad people doing bad things. But Brian, we talked about him. He put the bear paws on it because he was sneaking on people killing bears.
Over bait piles.
Over bait piles.
And he had to check that and collect the evidence, but to back out of it, and then if he put the actual, and they were real bear, I don't know if it was a roadkill or a seized one from a poaching case, but they were real bear paws and made the tracks on there. So the bad guys would, at that time was releasing their dogs on that, and then they just laid in wait. And
that's another subject that we're going to have to continue because there's a whole lot of things that are going on in the state of California with regard to fish and wildlife, to game, to conservation, that you would think that our government would be on the side that you're on. But politically, they're on the opposite side. They are not, in these laws they're making, they're not about protecting people. And I just don't get it. I can't wrap my head. So we're going to save that one because, Jerry, I'm going to have you back. I promise you I am. But I just want to talk to you about the marijuana cultivation that is happening in our forests.
Right. Yeah. So that's so it's so significant on the environmental crimes, the environmental damage, and the poaching of wildlife that I believe the department has either 50 or 60 officers that are dedicated towards the cultivation of marijuana in California. Mainly the illegal on public lands and some of the big ranches where the landowners don't even know that's occurring on their land. A lot of them are cartel grows. So you've got pesticides that are, their toxicity is so high that it's prohibited anywhere in Canada or the United States. We used to call it liquid fence because they would put it around the grow and anything that touches it would die. But we've mountain lions, bears, the Pacific fisher, which is protected in the North Coast, ringtail cats, damming up and polluting trout streams. A lot of people ask, why is Fish and Game involved? Well, that's the reason. We're the #1 agency that investigates poaching, habitat destruction on riparian areas that's through the waterways and water pollution. I worked closely, and all the wardens in California, they work closely with most of the sheriff's county deputies to investigate those because a lot of times the deputies are we get more conviction on what environmental crimes than they would for the actual cultivation of marijuana. It's more politically accepted by the community if somebody is cultivating marijuana and they actually destroy the environment. That's on top of the sheriff's report. And then the sheriff's department would get positive publicity. In fact, I was offered a job by one of the county sheriffs when I retired to be like a environmental crimes commissioner. I turned it down because I'd already worked for the government for 34 years or whatever.
Done.
So, but that was important enough that a lot of people don't see what is going on with the marijuana cultivation, because it's pretty. I mean, they do it as secretly as they possibly can, but I've seen it, and it's so destructive. The last 5 years of my career, in Nevada and Sierra and Placer counties, was investigating those. And a lot of it was the illegal water diversion, people downstreams that owned a ranch. For the first time ever, there's no water going through their property, and lo and behold, it was dammed up for marijuana grow.
Yeah, you would think that the environmentalists would be the number one advocate for y'all to stop that kind of stuff, but it's like they didn't care, and I don't get it. So I just cannot thank you enough for what you do and the men and women of your agency do. You're out there trying to protect wildlife and give people like myself that like to go out and enjoy the outdoors. So thank you so much for being here, and we're going to have you back. I promise you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us here on the Powerhouse Podcast. Today's been a great episode, hopefully educational about what we do and what we have in our fish and wildlife officers and our what they do to protect our environment out there. So thank you for joining us here on the Powerhouse Podcast. Hi, this is Topo Padilla, and I want to thank my family at Greg Padilla Bail Bonds for sponsoring the Powerhouse Podcast. We are always involved in the community, so if you ever find yourself in need of calling a bail bonds, you can call us at 446-BOND or find us at PadillaBailBonds.com. Sac Life TV and the Powerhouse Podcast want to thank Mosley Collins for his unwavering support of our podcast that keeps people informed. If you ever need legal help, call Mosley Collins Law at 444-4444. That's all fours for legal help. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Powerhouse Podcast, where we bring you fair and balanced discussions on the issues shaping our community. We welcome your input, opposing viewpoints, and guest recommendations, because every voice matters. Have a topic or a guest in mind? Email us at php@saclife.tv.